Yo, today we are going to dig into the 2025 San Jose State football team. We're going to look at some key departures, some additions, what the depth chart's looking like, MVP players to watch for. We're going to look at all these different things to see where San Jose State could finish in the Mountain West this year nationally. What are the possible outcomes for this team this upcoming season? So let's get right into it. Before we dig into this year, we have to check in as to what they lost coming into the year. So, of course, looking at some key departures here, everyone knows Nick Nash. Now with the Atlanta Falcons practice squad, he hung on for that position. But I mean, there's other receivers from last season that are now also gone. Justin Lockhart's gone, Trayshawn Hurry. And with them all accumulating their receiving percentage, 79% of the receiving yards from last year's team are gone. So it's really anyone's place to take those wide receiver 1, 2, 3, all those different types of reigns in this new offense this season. They lose their starting left tackle and Malik Williams. It's, I think, a very underrated thing. Someone who came over from Wyoming now transfers out, but that's a position that will be felt by a return this year, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But that could definitely be something to watch for the season going forward. Both cornerbacks also now gone. Michael Dansby started the year as cornerback 1. He transfers to a Power 4 school and goes over to Brent Brennan and his program. But the big loss to me is DJ Harvey. Obviously, he came into the year as cornerback 2, not as talked about. He finished the year as, per PFF, a top 5 cornerback in all of college football now with USC. It's some big losses there. You lose your starting kicker. I mean, there's a lot of big names to fill, but you got to look at the new additions that they have now. And of course, a lot of that is filling up that DB and wide receiver room, a lot of weapons and athletes on both sides of the ball that they're going to be fighting for production. Both rooms are going to be wide open for whoever warrants taking the snaps, and we will see how those play out. And we also see a Sawane Toya replacement in Big Billy there. Hopefully he can get some pass rush in, as that's something that at certain points last year you kind of missed out on, was that pass rush. Of course, San Jose State led the Mountain West in turnovers forced and was second, I believe, in all the nation interceptions. So if you can continue with that pass rush, building on top of it, that's going to be something you would really love to see with these new additions. Now let's take a look at the offense. Year 2 of Craig Stutzman's spread and shred, and year 2 headlined by Walker Egan. He is going to be the one distributing the ball downfield, and really it should be a little 1-for-1, at least plug-in wise, with these wide receiver positions. I think Leland Smith is the perfect Justin Lockhart replacement. He'll be dominating that X side of the field. Malachi Riley, as we'll discuss a little bit later, he's a little bit more of a you could really put him anywhere on the field, and it looks like he will be productive. He had a great freshman season with Arizona. He played with Brent Brennan and then goes down towards injury. It's going to be interesting to see, as they have also Danny Scudero in there playing the slot. But Stutzman has said this season that he wants to alternate a lot of guys in that slot position. He was saying a lot last year that he had never had so many tall receivers. And you look at Trayshawn Hurry, Nick Nash, and Justin Lockhart. I believe all of them are at least 6'3". And Scudero, Riley, and I'm not completely sure about Smith, but they're not all at 6'3". We could say that. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he alternates these receiver positions going forward. Jackson Kanan, big returner. He definitely thrived last year in the offense. It's going to be interesting to see how the tight end position plays a role this year. I think everyone's very familiar with the spread and shred coming in a year 2, and the slot receiver. It dominates the most targets. Whoever is in that slot is going to be the star, quote unquote, of the offense. But it'll be interesting to see year 2 where the tight end progression goes. And as we were saying earlier, Malik Williams out, Pasetti Leplauho moves from right tackle over to left tackle, keeps that starting gig. Nate Hale, who's going to be a redshirt sophomore this season, he will take his first year as a starter at that right tackle position. And both sides of that right side of the line are going to be underclassmen, with Tyler Chen coming in, starting at guard. He started at center last season, but he worked his way back in. And if you look at PFF, at least of the returners, he's the best returning pass blocker that San Jose State has. So it's going to be very nice to see his progression. Hopefully he continues that this season. Joseph Harbor and Siani Namoni. Now, those are 2 players that they have the starting gigs currently, but it's going to be interesting to see last season with Daniel Maleni and Hudson Mesa alternating back and forth. It'll be interesting to see, do they keep these starting gigs the entire year? It obviously does look like they have them for now, but we will be seeing the progression of the offense throughout the year. I'd be reminiscent if I didn't mention Floyd Chalk IV, over 700 rushing yards last season, but this year it looks like it's going to be a little bit different with year 2 of Lamar Radcliffe. He didn't get his redshirt season playing in a couple snaps too many in certain games, and Jabari Bates, he's also going to be dominating some of the snaps. He has too much burst to not dominate, at least in some games. So it's going to be interesting to see how they rotate that three-headed monster there at running back. And of course, if you watch my previous video, you know Matthew Coleman is somebody I'm very high on. He doesn't make the quote-unquote starting depth chart, but he's definitely going to be somebody that it'll behoove me to see where he finishes, at least going into the conference schedule. I would love to see where he is at in this offense. And then of course, last season they loved alternating in Cooper Hoach, so the coaching staff likes him, and there's no reason why he wouldn't alternate in and out. He could be playing a little bit of tight end, he could be playing in that slot role, so it'll be very interesting to see where exactly he lines up, because he will be getting snaps. It's just a matter of how many and where those snaps are getting lined up. But there's no reason this offense should not lead the Mountain West in passing again. It'll be interesting to see the rushing progression this year. Just how much more do they add, especially in a game last year like UNLV where it was raining? Do they believe they have the run game this season to rely on it in late game situations? Do they believe they have the run game to continue leaning on it? It'll be interesting to see. But this Walker Eaget could very easily be all conference this year. Leland Smith and Malachi Riley, one of them will probably be all conference this year. It'll be very interesting to see how the results land, but this offense should absolutely thrive in year 2 of Craig Stutzman. And now we take a look at the starting defense. This is what it's going to be looking like, I'd imagine, on run downs, as they don't have the nickel set here, but you have Ethan Powell, Noah McNeil-Franklin, Jordan Pollard, and Nella Latu all in those 4 linebacker spot. It'll be interesting to see who they play at that nickel position. But until then, we see that this is a dominant defense coming back from last season, 5th in the country in takeaways, 3rd in the nation in interceptions, and headlining is first-team all-conference returner Jordan Pollard, who's already been nominated for the watch list of Linebacker of the Year award. He's going to take them pretty far, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say Isaiah Rivas, who led the entire team in snaps played last season. He would also be someone that is headlining this defense. The 2 captains, Nella Latu and Jalen Appellate-Williams, they will also be on this defense. But I think the 2 playmakers are absolutely going to be Isaiah Rivas and Jordan Pollard, 2 guys to watch out for. Returning D-line, I mean, Quincy Likio, Quincy was the one that broke his hand a little early into the season. He gets that redshirt season to come back. It'll be interesting to see the pass rush progression. I think I'm very high on them in the run game, clogging the gaps, having success there, but it's going to be very interesting to see the pass rush that they can get home this season, especially with someone like Nella, who he provides that nice little gap there on the outside edge. Obviously, the question coming into this year is the secondary. As we mentioned earlier in the video, DJ Harvey and Michael Dansby are gone. Jalen Boehner, he's going to have that right side of the field all to himself now. And Jalen Thomas really took this job out of camp. He's going to be a redshirt freshman. This is the first time he's played since playing at Los Gatos High School as a senior. He took, again, the redshirt last year, so it'll be very interesting to see who is earning these cornerback snaps. As you see at the bottom, Ronnie Norton, Caleb Presley, Malachi Crawford, these are all guys that they can work themselves in depending on the game script and how the receivers are looking, how practices are looking. It's going to be very interesting to see how the defense ends up, because again, they were very close to leading the nation last year in turnovers. Ethan Powell is someone that's extremely athletic. They like playing him off the ball, almost in a hybrid safety role. This defense should absolutely finish in the top half of the conference, but they may struggle against the pass. And that's something that we can only see when we move forward. If we're looking to crown an MVP of this team, I don't know how it couldn't be Walker Eaget. If anyone's going to win a large award from this team, it probably will be him. If healthy, he is the guy. He's going to push the ball downfield. He's going to be finding Leland Smith and Malachi Riley down the field. He's shown slight rushing capabilities, as he did last year, notably against Boise State and Stanford. In his first game at Wyoming, he was almost in for a touchdown. I think that's something to talk about just a little bit. Is his first start ever was at homecoming. His second start was the Fresno State rivalry. His second home start was against the number 13 in the nation. His third home start was the UNLV game, and there were no fans there really, because there was a huge storm going on. And then his final start was the huge Bay Area brawl against Stanford. So he's someone that is not quote unquote had an easy start, not that there ever is, but there's always been something coming into a game for him where it's never been easy. Obviously, he has a bit of a turnover problem, finishes the year with 13 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. That's something I believe that he'll clean up. Obviously, this offense is predicated on getting the ball out quick RPO decision making. He proved that he could do it against USF. He proved he can do it against Stanford. He proved he can do it against Oregon State. These are all big programs that Walker Eaget has shown, even nationally. All three of those games, 2 of the 3 games were nationally televised. So it'll be big to see just how far he can really take this team. It's evident that points will be put on the board, but just how many will probably be left up to Walker Eaget. I'm also going to give 2 players to watch for the upcoming season who takes certain positions earlier in the year, and one of them we mentioned, Malachi Riley. If you read Aaron Johnson's report for the Mercury News, go follow Aaron Johnson and their reporting. But he said that he came to San Jose State because he saw what Matthew Coleman did in the bowl game, and he said, I can be that. I want to be a part of that. 6'1", 168 pounds, a little bit of a slender guy. I think Craig Stutzman said something. He sees him having the profile of a Nick Nash, and I can absolutely see that. Maybe he puts on a little bit more weight, but point being, he's an athletic guy who produced his freshman season in a Power 4 conference. This is a place where he can succeed. I don't even think it's so much as he can't succeed. It's just, where is he going to do it again? I'm someone that believes he can take that slot position if he just dominates there. There's obviously a lot of talent in the room with Scudero and Coleman. But he's someone that can absolutely produce, especially if they want to put him at that Z receiver, the opposite side of Leland Smith. It'll be very interesting to see. I'm assuming that Leland Smith is going to be ready to go from game 1. It's who is going to be the other guy. And I think Malachi Riley has the opportunity to be that other guy for Walker Eaget. It's just a matter of if he takes that opportunity and how far will he go with it. The other guy I think that's very interesting is Jalen Thomas. Again, redshirt freshman, has not played a snap of real football since high school. He takes, according to the depth chart posted by San Jose State, he takes this cornerback 1 position. There are multiple former Power 4, 4-star recruits in that DB room, in that cornerback specifically room, and he is listed as cornerback 1. So if he can continue this upward trajectory again, especially so young as a redshirt freshman, it'll be very interesting just how quickly he elevates his game, how long he can hold on to that cornerback 1 spot potentially. But it's very interesting to see. Last year there was not a lot of freshmen playing for San Jose State, so to give him the job so quickly into camp and before the season even starts, he has to be someone that the coaching staff is very high on, and something to watch definitely for all the fans out there. And this is year 2 for head coach Ken Niumatalolo. In year 1, he goes 7-6 despite more than half of his roster leaving coming in the year. He fixes a lot of that through the portal. A lot of guys come in and become instant starters, instant producers for him. He finishes the year with a bowl appearance. They lose in an incredibly close game that the entire nation was watching, as it was the only game on. This will be a very interesting season for him. He brings in a lot of former Power 4 guys with this family culture that he has built there. And now it's mostly his own team, and I think what's going to be most interesting to see is how does he prepare this team going into each game. You can't really fault him for the first game of last year, but the reality is it's a Division II school in Sac State, and it took him a while, to figure things out. There were some high snaps, some miscommunications. You can't fault him for his first game as a program, but you go a little bit further down into the year, you have the Fresno State game where it didn't look like they were ready to play that game. Then you go to the next week against Oregon State and a miraculous win. And after the game, Nick Nash says, yeah, coach was throwing tables, he was throwing chairs. I think finding that perfect middle ground to hype your team up and get the team where you need them to be, it's going to be crucial for Coach Ken this year. This is a guy that hates to lose more than anyone. And I said in the last video as well, he told the team when he first got the job last season, I truly believe we can make the college football playoff this season. And you look back at multiple ranked opponents, there was an opportunity to be conference champions. I think he's absolutely correct in saying that. And I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be telling them that this year, especially a schedule that it looks like favors them more this year, or is more difficult on paper than it was last season. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he plays out this season. I have full belief in Coach Ken coming in year 2, but it'll be very interesting considering the results he put in year one, and now he's got a significantly more expectations coming into year two. If we look at the last 5 years, San Jose State still has a Mountain West championship within the last 5 years, but this is that's going to get kicked off if they don't win this year. They've consistently made bowl games 4 out of the 5 in these last 5 years, but they have not been able to win one, and now more than a decade. So I think they've obviously shown this program the opportunity that you can come here and play big times. You can come here, go to bowl games, win big games. I think this is going to be the year where, especially because of the year one that Coach Ken has shown, this is going to be a year where you need some kind of hardware, some kind of result. It doesn't even matter if that's the rivalry trophy from the Fresno State game. It doesn't matter where that hardware is coming from, but you need something to come home and say, this is what you get when you come to San Jose State, is winning period. And again, he loves winning. He hates nothing more than to lose. So it'll be very interesting to see how things come out considering the schedule that's been put out. And let's look at that schedule right now. So looking at the schedule, they open 13.5 favorites against Central Michigan going into tomorrow night. It'll be very interesting to see that game play out. I think many have that as a San Jose State victory. Then they go to Texas next week. Very, very, very challenging game. I think you come out of that game clean. You come out of that game putting points on the board and keeping it somewhat close. That's even going into halftime. You at least open the eyes of the national media that, yes, you are somebody. By the end of the year, I do remember them keeping things close against Texas. Idaho State, that's probably a victory. Stanford, I think it'll be a very telling game, just as Washington State was last year, and that was the 4th game of last season. This 4th game of this season is going to be very telling to see where the program is going into the conference schedule. You get New Mexico, probably a win. You go to Wyoming and Utah State. Those are 2 really big games back-to-back on the road. Quick turnaround. If there is a loss, it might be in there, and that's going to be very difficult. I think specifically because of that turnaround and the elevation that you're going to be playing in, specifically in Wyoming. And then you host Hawaii, you host Air Force, 2 games that you probably should come home with. Then you go on the road to Nevada, go against San Diego State, and then you host Fresno State for the final game of the season. This is a very manageable conference schedule, and I think that's on top of the talent that San Jose State has. That's really the reason why there are so many expectations, is you dodged the big dogs in conference play this year, and whenever you really have to see them is going to be that conference championship, assuming that you make it. So looking at this schedule, if I have to give a prediction, and we're being very realistic, I would say this is going to be a 9-3 season. You probably lose to Texas. Stanford game for me really is a coin flip. I understand that they've already taken a loss to Hawaii, but it was a difficult challenge or task for them last season when they played against Stanford. But even if they don't lose there, not that I'm not 100% convinced, but we saw multiple times last season where you questioned the offensive play calling. You look at the secondary and you thought to yourselves, oh my gosh, they cannot stop giving up third downs. I do think there's probably 2 more games in here where you look at them on paper and you say, yes, those are wins. We're favored by 10 points, and they just can't solve things going down the stretch. And that's ultimately where things come back to Coach Kenny Amatulolo. Can he lock his team in for 12 full games to go probably 11-1 down the stretch? It'll be very interesting to see, but I think they make the conference championship. Who knows how that game goes? And if you go 9-3, you're absolutely making a bowl game. I don't think there's a way you don't make a bowl game this season, considering the schedule. And obviously, you're gonna have to take home that bowl game as more than a decade now. You need to take home some hardware here. And I also think that there's gonna be at least 4 all-conference team players. Walker Eget has to make it. Jordan Pollard has to make it. I think Isaiah Rivas is going to make it. And with this San Jose State offense, I don't know how a receiver of any capacity doesn't make it. It'll be very interesting to see. I will be making the Central Michigan preview video right after this, getting this all edited, published, and then digging right into that. I'm excited. Less than 24 hours, we will be watching San Jose State Spartan football and seeing how the trajectory of year 2 of Kenny Amatulolo goes. Please subscribe, comment down below if you'd like to see anything else, or if you have any comments or criticism that I'd love to hear and implement here. Thank you for watching.